Hey y'all, today we're going to be building the Maverick Hunter with Purpleheart handle scales, Decrofil pinstock, which is a CKK exclusive, and stainless thong hole tubing. So join us as we build the Maverick Hunter. Enjoy. First thing we're going to do here is we're going to open our gift box, and you'll see that what we have in here is the blade, and we also have the bolsters, which are completely unfinished, and the pins for the bolsters. First thing we're going to do here is we're just going to dry fit, make sure that the bolster pins go through the bolster smoothly, and that the bolsters line up. If they don't, just take a little bit of sandpaper and just take a little bit off, right off the edge. That's usually where it's going to catch. Remember, these are kits, so they're designed for you to have to finish. They're not perfectly finished materials waiting to go together. This is requires a little bit more skill than some of our more basic kits. So once we've dry fit them, we're going to do what we do always, and that is wrap our blade to protect our fingers as well as the blade. One thing that we want to be careful of here is we want to make sure that our tape does not go so far down that it gets under the bolsters, because if it does, you won't be able to get it out after you put your bolsters on. And also, if you don't get it out, it will actually, even though it's pretty thin, it will tilt the bolsters out slightly at the top, and it'll make your knife look funny. So what we did here is we just kind of pushed the tape up a little bit, as you can see. And then we're mixing our epoxy to put our bolsters on. Now you're not going to be able to save this epoxy for use when you do your handles. So just be aware when you're done, just clean up your mess when you're done with this part. And you'll have to mix new epoxy. And then we're going to put our bolster on, we're going to put our pinstock through, and then we will repeat for the other side. And if you get a little bit too much epoxy on there and it kind of squishes out, that's not a big deal. We'll be able to clean that up later. You will want to clean up the bulk of it before you put your handle scales on, though, because you don't want anything at the bottom of the bolster where the handles are going to touch it to cause the handles to not be able to sit flush. But again, we'll take care of that a little bit later. So once we've got our bolsters on, we're just going to make sure that they're tight up against the tang. And then we're going to peen the pins. So what the peening is going to do is it's going to expand the diameter of the pins inside the bolsters and inside the tang. So we're going to do this on both sides. Once we've got that done, and we've waited 24 hours for our epoxy to dry, and then we've cleaned off, made sure that we got all the excess cleaned off, we'll go ahead and dry fit our handle scales. So you want to make sure you pick which side you want to face out, and you want to make sure that you butt it completely up against the bolster, and make sure that you've got meat around the other three sides so you've got some room for sanding. And then we're just going to tape them right on. We'll do this one set at a time so that we can drill it. And then we're going to drill our holes. Today we're going to be drilling all three. We'll drill the 2 for the pinstock, and we will drill 1 for the thong hole. But as I've said in previous videos, if you choose not to use thong hole tubing, you can just leave that hole filled in on your wood, and nobody will ever know that it's there. Now we drill this on top of another piece of wood for 2 reasons. 1, we want everything nice and flat when we're drilling. But 2, this definitely lets us know when we get through the wood. Because as you can see, you'll start seeing the lighter pieces of wood coming up through the holes instead of the dark wood from the Purpleheart. And once we've done one side, we'll simply take this off, and then we'll go ahead and tape on the other side and put it on. All right, so now that we have finished drilling our holes in our handle material, we're going to go ahead and mix our epoxy to put the handle scales on. We're using Defcon 2-ton epoxy here. This is available at knifekits.com. It's really simple, doesn't require exact measurements. You want about a 1-to-1 ratio. And then you just want to make sure anytime you're using epoxy that you mix it together very well. So you can fold it, you can stir it. You just want to make sure that you get it mixed together very well so that it will set properly. Again, we're going to make sure that they are pushed all the way up against the bolster. Then we're going to put our pinstock in. Today we're using a Decrofil pinstock. This is a CKK exclusive. This particular model is brass and it's got the black Decrofil. So we're not going to be peening it because of the type of pin that it is, but you will need to tap it through the wood and the tang because it's going to be somewhat snug. Just be aware when you're tapping it through, if you feel it hit something hard, that means that your hole's not lined up properly and you're going to want to realign it before you consider or continue hammering it in. Then we're going to clamp our handle scales on. I like using smaller clamps because while they allow you to get it nice and snug, they don't really allow you to crank down on it so much that it will break your handle scales, because you can crack them if you tighten down too much. And we're going to let this sit for about 24 hours. Then we'll remove our clamps and we will move on to sanding. Everything here is sandable. The Decrofil, the thong hole tubing, the pins in your bolsters and the bolsters themselves, we're going to sand and polish all of that down to the shape that you want. Of course, we'll start with a coarser belt and then we'll work our way to a finer and finer belt to get exactly what we want. Obviously, we're not showing you all of that here. That does take a little bit of time. Just take your time to get it the way that you want it. And then once we're done with all the sanding, we'll go to the polishing. And you'll be able to see that when done properly, you will either barely be able to see or you will not even be able to see where the pinstock goes through these bolsters. On a properly finished kit, you'll never be able to see it. So now you see just how easy it is to build a knife kit. The next thing you got to do is just go right to our website, knifekits.com, and order one for yourself. When you finish it, do me a favor though, take pictures and send them to us. That way we can post them up on the website and on social media. If you've enjoyed this video, please take the time to like it, click the subscribe button, and click the notification button. We've got a lot more to come. Thanks for stopping by.